What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 152 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. The Game of the Year 2017 Spectacular.
Happy New Year to us.
I was going to sing, but I'm confused.
Not anymore, right? Didn't that go away? The happy birthday song? It's legal now. The copyright's gone.
It's all perfect.
Oh, anyone can do it.
It's public domain.
It's public domain.
Great. That's
So
great
it is.
news.
So we
Happy New Year to us. Happy New Year,
As always,
America.
I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
I got a beard.
Beard Miller. This is Punished Miller. Punished Greg.
Hey, don't I normally have to use that microphone?
You don't know which one you use.
That's
Your lipstick's actually on the one you usually
yeah,
use.
that's
So I don't know.
true. That's true.
And joining us because we're doing the Kind of Funny Game of the Year discussion, we had to have Kind of Funny Games Daily's own Andrea Renee.
What's good, Tim?
Yay. And
What's
Andy
Good
Cortez
Games, though?
joining us. And What's Good Games?
Hey guys, I work here too.
Yeah, you like video games. So you're here for the thing. What we're going to do is each of us is going to give our top 10 games of the year 2017. We all have our own personal things, what goes into that, whether it's best or favorite or ranked or unranked. We'll each explain that as we go. But then we're going to have the discussion of what is Kind of Funny's Game of the Year 2017. And it's going to be a good time. What do you got for me, Greg? You throwing a wrench in this?
Before we went live,
Here we go.
we were having a good laughy laugh with Kevin about the order of who's going up, right?
calling an audible.
I was talking about the order as if we were each giving one game going around. Are we doing Andy does 10, Andrea does 10, I do 10, you do 10? Or is it that we're going 1, 1, 1, 1? I know, because that when you said the ad goes there, I was like, oh.
I also was thinking this thing.
The one by
Really, I
ones.
wasn't. I thought it was just 10, 10, 10, 10.
It's fine either way.
Now,
I just want to make sure. And
here's the thing.
literally, I went wait, and you went what's up?
I mean,
And
because
like,
I have honorable mentions too.
yeah.
Well,
So that's
sort of,
not
yeah.
fine.
Now, the only reason that this is a thing is because we promised the people time codes.
Sure.
And it's going to be real damn
Good point,
impossible
good
to
point.
get time codes if we
Everybody does
But
their
I think
10.
it's a better show if we go one by one.
It's a
Right?
tough one. Do
I
we
don't know.
need
But
specific
we're gonna-
time codes for this show? For this?
I mean, this
We
is the Game of the Year
just promised it,
Spectacular.
so I feel like we got to do it now.
Well-
I feel like if we go one by one, we're eventually going to have some that we all agree with.
Yeah.
So then that's going to
Correct.
remove from our list.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is if Andy, like a smart person, puts Patapon Remastered in his
Yeah.
list, well, I'm going to talk about it there, and then when I get to do my 10, I'm just going to, and then I had Patapon it, whatever, or I
Yeah.
just, I say we do one person by one person.
Okay, sure.
No,
Andy?
that makes sense. So like Andy does 10, she'll do 10.
Let's do that.
and
I'll
then
do 10.
if somebody talks about a game that's on your list, we'll just
We all chime in and talk
Yeah,
about what we
we'll
love.
cross it off.
You don't need to cry. You can bring it up, bring your own reasons. Why it's on your list for whatever
Okay.
bullshit reasons you got. You know what I mean?
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're going there.
Hi, ma'am.
2018.
Oh God! Now here
Joey
comes
asks
Joey.
such
Joey's
hard
question. Joey,
questions.
come talk on the microphone.
talk on the
Joey, Come talk on the
microphone.
microphone.
Is this question for Patreon producer Tom Bach? Because it should
It
be.
could be.
He's a Patreon producer. This
Hi,
time.
Tom.
Hi, Tom Bach. Couldn't you do time codes for everybody's number 10 game, 9 game, 8 game, 7?
Well, because
We're
we
not
don't
ranking.
rank them.
Oh.
So that
I mean,
But-
and Kevin just ran away too, so it's it's a complicated.
Yeah, it's a lot. Kevin who's supposed to be doing the time codes.
I say let's just go around or do what we're saying.
10, 10, 10.
10, 10. We're gonna call it.
I'm not going to rank them, but I am going to
10.
say what my game of the
It's
year
good.
is.
Okay, it's gonna be simple.
you remember
this is
Same.
the Kind of Funny Games cast. Each and every week we get together right here on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames to talk about video games and all the things you love about them. You can get the show early by going to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, and that also includes being able to watch it live and getting a pre and post show. So all the fun stuff we talk about before the show and after the show, all the Patreon people get to see it, and all you normies
You can
don't
hear
get
us
to see it.
prepare.
Yeah, and it's fun. We're sitting here. Some people aren't here. Some people are. It's a great time for everybody. You had a good discussion earlier talking about Giant Bomb, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, the
So was that worth $1?
I'd hope so.
It's worth
I
$1.
sure hope so.
You should go check that out. And if not, you can just go to youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. It's for the early people on Patreon every Friday at 9 a.m. It's for the late people every Monday at 9 a.m. Either way, it's going to be a good time.
If you missed the pre and post show live, you can get it as part of the video on demand on Friday, but only on Patreon.
Yeah, you should do that.
After this, Andy and I are going to play Skins versus Skins Wrestle Time. That's going to be the post show.
Is that how we're going to debate what, or we're going to
No, that's
figure
the
out
post
what
show. That's the
Oh,
post show for this
okay.
one.
Gotcha.
Andy, you're going to kick this off for us.
Okay.
Your top 10
Do you think I should go honorable mentions first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's my question.
What the fuck do you want to talk about?
Again, not to throw a wrench into the works here. This is our first show of 2018. We changed a bunch of stuff on Patreon. Don't you need to say right now this show is brought to you by somebody, or is that not how the ads are working? Do I not understand how the ads work?
Brought to you by Socks on Rocks.
You're right.
Socks
the
on
show
rocks.
is brought to you by
Socks
You
on
got some
rocks.
socks. Now
Blue
they're on
Apron.
rocks.
But we'll talk about that later.
I would recommend, just a thought, maybe we save the honorable mentions for the end in case it runs long.
This ain't going around.
Because I feel like we need to talk about the games that made the list first, and then the ones that are
everyone's list. I
recline
think
on
they
there.
get to talk about it how they want
You
to.
do what you want in your top 10. You stay out of my lane, Andrea. Okay? All right?
Well,
Whatever. Everybody knows what your top 10 already is, Mr. Giant
are
Bomb.
going to be
That's right, I'm
sort
popular.
of sped through. My honorable mentions is just kind of blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to name them all. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Do you, Andy Cortez?
Because my honorable
missed
mentions
you,
aren't
you
games
sweet little
that
shit.
weren't quite as important to me as they were in the year as the other games.
So you should always talk about the most least important thing first.
Exactly.
Just get them out of the way.
Yeah.
You
save the best for last.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Greg. I really liked Nidhogg 2 as an honorable mention. We've had fun playing it on the streams.
Nidhogg 2 is great, yeah.
I think it's a blast, and it's very repetitive, and there's not much nuance or anything to it. It's just fun to play.
There's tons of nuance.
very frustrating.
As the guy
It
who
is
kicked your
hell.
ass all yesterday, I can tell you there's a lot of nuance to it. You don't have to
I mean,
diving
there's no power ups, so that there's no like skill trees or anything. It's
Okay.
just straightforward.
It is what it is.
1v1, hang 'em high snipers. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? That's all it is.
I put Nidhogg 2 on my like short list of,
sure.
like, as I was organizing because I went through the whole year like by release date and I put everything down. I'm like, oh, I enjoyed that, and that got the cut. But yeah, shout out to Nidhogg 2. They did
absolutely.
a good job. Because when I first saw Nidhogg 1, we had a great time with. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We played that one Let's Play and it was great. Nidhogg 2, when they first showed it, I was like, I do not like this. It looks nasty.
I love the art style.
Like it looks
I
way too
adore it.
Ren and Stimpy and way too I'm not about this. Playing it, I'm like, I was totally wrong. Like it fits.
I think it's beautiful pixel art. I think they did a great job. Next up, I have Ruiner from Devolver. Don't remember the actual developer, but Devolver published it. Super awesome twin stick shooter, cyberpunk. It's just like totally my vibe. The only reason it probably isn't in my top 10 games is because I didn't beat it. But I probably sank in like 2 or 3 hours in it.
Rycon Games,
Rycon Games.
the developer.
Thank you, Andrea.
No problem.
Awesome power-ups. It's a blast. It's really difficult, but the art style and the design, it's so flashy and awesome, and the characters are wacky, and it's just like totally my thing. It's totally my thing, and I really liked it. Everybody's Golf.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The only reason it didn't really make my top 10 is because I did feel like it was a little bit more shallow than I wanted it to be. Like,
You fucking kidding me?
the character creator was great. I just felt
Yeah.
like I kept playing and I wasn't getting what I wanted out of it.
What the fuck did you want out of it?
So it's not for everybody.
Shut up for a second.
I
What
just
did you want out of it?
I wanted to visit extra worlds similar to another game.
No, there's tons of maps. Okay, fine. You can.
Yeah. No, there are different golf courses, but I wanted to walk around different hubs with people. You know what I'm saying?
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you. Hob from Runic Games. Rest in peace. Because they shut down, I believe.
Yeah, you could be totally wrong. Yeah.
Could be totally wrong.
They're listening right now. No, we're still making
We're
games,
still open.
please. Don't sell your Hob stock.
I had a lot of fun with it on PS4. I think the only reason it is in my top 10 because again I didn't beat it. But I mean there are games in my top 10 I didn't beat, but I still feel are better than that. Super fun platforming, awesome puzzles. In my opinion, like genius level design. I think it's like what you should show up and coming game developers how to design levels and
nice.
yeah, how to put together worlds. I think it's
Were they just clever levels? I didn't play it at all.
yeah, essentially all of the world. If you imagine the intro of Game of Thrones where everything's on springs and coming out of the ground and stuff like that, that's how the whole world is in Hob.
Gotcha.
And so you beat something, then this big platform that you didn't know was even something you could enter comes out of the ground, spins, doorway. Enter that, it's a whole new dungeon. I mean, there's a lot of cool shit in that game. I really appreciate the work they put into it. And finally, from my honorable mention, probably the hottest take here, Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh, fuck you.
Not in my top 10.
You're a maniac.
Had fun with it.
I get it.
I had a fun time with it. It was nothing that blew me away though. The one moment that I felt was like this is really cool is the end of New Donk City.
Sure.
Aside from that, I thought it was a fun platformer, cool collectathon. You can collect all this shit, Andrea. And I was just like, other than that, this isn't anything that I think is a Game of the Year candidate for me.
Man, that blows my mind because I understand you not thinking that it's number 1 or even top 5, but top 10 didn't make it.
I can't wait to see what
crazy.
artsy fartsy bullshit he's got on this list.
I
now.
still haven't beat it. I still haven't beat Odyssey. I'm like at.
Oh, it's too tough for you.
I'm at the castle. No, I just like.
Fake gamer boy.
It's definitely not too tough. Come on.
Yeah, actually, what I played on the plane instead of that was Blossom Tales, that Link to the Past sort of top-down game on
What'd you think
Switch.
of that?
It's really like cute and fun. Like, I mean, it's whatever, but there's a lot of nods to Zelda in it. You know, I don't know. It's kind of fun, I guess. But yeah, Odyssey is not in my top 10. In my top 10, man, maybe we should have switched it up. Maybe honorable mentions first. Because I just feel like I'm just droning on. I don't like
But
this.
This was my point.
We
But
can
that's
start,
okay.
Kev, we're getting the first section is going to be honorable mentions, okay? Okay.
So that's where the show started. You don't even need to, well, I guess you have a time code when we actually started talking. All right, fine. All right, cool. Andrea, what are your honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. So I only have a couple. First honorable mention is Battle Chef Brigade from
Adult Swim Games.
Adult Swim Games is the publisher. Available on PC and Nintendo Switch. So this was a game that came out very late in the year, but I really like it because it's match 3, which is a really simple puzzle type that is approachable to all kinds of gamers, but also incorporated some like a little bit of JRPG elements with a little bit of combat and kind of had this nice hybrid going. Did you guys play it?
No, I did not. No.
I wanted to get into it. I liked the concept of it, but I didn't like the art style when I looked at the gameplay of it.
Okay.
And then it was also the JRPG stuff in it. If it was just match 3, I was going to be fine, I thought.
Okay. Well,
Because they have to go collect the food or
yeah, but that's what I thought made it interesting and exciting because there's a bazillion match 3 games out there. What I liked is that they put a twist on it so it's essentially you're competing in like an Iron Chef competition and you have to go kill your ingredients like in combat and then you bring them back and each ingredient type matches an elemental type and then that figures into the match 3 puzzle element of the game. Then the chefs are like, okay, I want a fiery dish made with this specific type of ingredient. And so you have to go find those ingredients that match and then bring them back and then solve the puzzle based off those parameters. And then you get multiple judges in later rounds. And so you're kind of like spinning all of these plates at once, which makes it really, I think, really engaging from a puzzle game perspective. But honorable mention. Also, this one was hard for me because I really wanted it to be in my top 10. Middle-earth Shadow of War.
Oh, fuck. I should have mentioned that.
Honorable mention. So
You
really,
were so in love with this, or not in love with it. You were so excited for this one coming
it was
up to
one of my most anticipated, if not the most anticipated game for me this year. And what I don't want to say it was like a complete disappointment because it wasn't. It was a really well-built game that just didn't quite scratch the itch I wanted it to scratch. We got a lot of repetitive gameplay late game, and while the graphics were beautiful and the combat was great, it didn't really, to me, innovate enough off of the formula that was so innovative in Shadow of Mordor. So that was a bit of a disappointment for me, but still a really excellent game. So I wanted to make sure that they got an honorable mention.
That double jump, though. Game
Yes.
of the year.
I mean, all of the Wraith abilities that they added in made the traversal so much more
Right.
fun in that world, and which helped because it was so much larger. But I kind of got tired of having to constantly go find guys that I had grudges with to beat them and then to take down all of the different bases individually. It just became so repetitive. And then like the whole microtransaction garbage that they threw in just kind of left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. But I wanted to talk about it because I still think it's a good game.
I agree.
Another honorable mention, which was a little bit of a disappointment, but I still think was a good game. I'm going to stand by this. Mass Effect Andromeda. So I know a lot of people are probably like, oh, it's hot garbage, but they made a lot of fixes, and I'm judging it based off the game it was in December, not the game it was when it launched. And I really liked the exploration that they did, going to this new galaxy, meeting this new race, having these new squad mates, and really kind of setting up what could be a potential new trilogy, but who knows what's going to happen with Mass Effect now. Yeah. But I still really enjoyed it for all of its Mass Effect-ness that it still had in there. Was there room for improvement? Of course. But I still played like almost all of that game, so loved it.
I did enjoy what I played. It was only a few hours. I think I was just so turned off by what everybody else is saying, though. Like, it sort of like influenced me to not go back to it.
Which is unfortunate,
But
right?
I'll tell you what, every time I fucking scroll by that thing on my PlayStation 4, I just like,
You should go back and play it.
I am. I know I am. It's just, I want to do it.
I mean, you have an N7 sticker on your car.
I am a Mass Effect fan, Greg Miller. All right.
know.
You ever heard of these fans?
Yeah,
I'm
you're
one of them, dude. Right?
Yeah, I know who they
games
are.
are cool.
Yeah, I've seen
Video
them.
games are cool.
One more honorable mention, and then I'm going to pass the mic to Greg. So my last one is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So this game, I would have potentially looked at adding into my top 10, but it's too much content from the previous version of the game. It didn't feel like a brand new 100% Mario Kart, which it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think I could give it a top 10 of the year, but I really liked it, really fun. It's the first game that I really ever contemplated doing multiplayer on a Nintendo platform with.
Right.
And it was fun. We did a play along with some of the WGG patrons at one of our exclusive streams, and it was a really great time. I mean, 'cause you get to connect with several people at once. I mean, it was a nightmare and a half getting everybody's friend codes punched in, but once we were in, it was
Yeah.
really fun. So those are my honorable mentions.
Go for it, Greg.
Thank you. I like, just pass me the baton.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Give
Yeah.
me something here.
What are your honorable mentions, Gregory?
First off,
Old man Miller.
Destiny 2. Destiny 2, a fantastic game. I enjoyed my time with it quite a bit. Now in my top 10. And what are you shaking your face at?
I just like you don't make sense.
Why
You
don't it make sense?
How is Destiny 2 not in your top 10?
I'm kidding, it is. I'll get to it later. I wanted to get you, Tim, and I got you good.
got me.
My
You
first
did.
honorable mention is Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. It's a game that, like we talked about, and I've said it a million times, so I won't beat the dead horse. Just beat the living fuck out of me when I first started playing it, and I kept lowering the difficulty. And since those first 2 nights of playing and having a ball with it and really enjoying it and making good progress, I haven't gone back to lower the difficulty even lower and go and actually run through and enjoy it. Because you were telling me you did that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and like that actually got there. I love the idea of it. It's just I wasn't clicking on those 2 nights in terms of playing through it. I loved what I played. I loved the characters. I loved the gameplay. I didn't finish it. And it's one of those weird things of, I know how great that game is. I know I will enjoy that game or would enjoy that game if I go back. Will I actually get back to it? I don't know. I don't know if I actually will or anything. And that's that's what keeps it out of the top 10 is that for some reason there's not a hook drawing me to get back into it and go for it. But I'm sure we'll probably talk about Wolfenstein 2 at some point in this thing. Also on there, of course, Persona 5. Long running joke now here, of course, of like I fucking Cheeks Jr. that goddamn pizza because of it, where he's like, "You're never gonna beat this." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna beat it," and that was like what, June? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'll get back to it and beat it. I missed my window. Came out, we had it. Then Horizon, I think, arrived the next day, and I was like, "Well, fuck, I gotta play this first." And then
And Zelda.
I went back to Persona, and then Zelda came, and then I
Damn,
just
Persona's that far back. I did not realize
February 4th.
April,
That.
yeah.
Holy shit.
Right?
Oh, it was originally supposed to come out in February 14th and
Yeah.
got pushed.
But we got it a month early.
We got it on February.
Oh, you're right.
We got it at February 14th,
Yeah.
which was like, why the fuck didn't this come out then? No big deal. I love Persona. I love Persona 5. I think Persona 5 is the best Persona game. I just have played Persona 4, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3, Persona 3 Fez, and for some reason, I just cannot motivate myself to sit back down. I think a part of it is that I just don't feel like I'll ever have enough time to give it. Like, you know what I mean? I've played 25 hours of a 95-hour game. It's just like, I want to play other things, and this is or 20.
Portability.
Exactly.
If
Oh
it
my
comes
God.
out on
If it comes to
Switch,
Switch,
it's a
sure.
done deal. You're
Sure.
playing that game.
Exactly. When I still think about going back to it, but it's the problem now. I think about playing a lot of games over the last few days, and what happens inevitably, Kevin? Every night he texts me and goes, GTA? And I'm like, yeah, we'll play some GTA online. Or Poe wants to play Friday the 13th. Or there's Destiny content I want to check out. I suddenly became this games as a service guy, and now I can't get out. And it's hurting me on the other things.
a
But
trap.
again, experiences I've had, I like what I've played. And then the final honorable mention, which falls into, I think, your Shadow of War analogy, right? South Park, The Fractured But Whole. I wanted to love that game and be just lose my mind to it. I like that game. I had a lot of fun with it. It had a lot of good superhero jokes in it, which I was a big fan of. I loved Stick of Truth. But for some reason, it just never went to that next level of like, holy shit, this is a game I have to talk about nonstop and tell everybody about.
I forgot about that.
It was a lot of fun.
That's an honorable mention for me,
I
too.
enjoyed it, and even when I beat it, and then I had screwed up the trophy in the beginning of playing as a black kid or whatever. So I was like, maybe I'll go back and do it. And then once I beat it, I was just like, Yeah, I don't have time to go back and do this again. Not to mention, I just don't think it's that good to warrant another playthrough of going through. Great game, and I had fun with it, but
My autosave fucked me, so I never had any
remember that,
motivation to go back to it. Because then I started playing Shadow of War. I mean, I was kind of in the middle of playing Shadow of War, and I just preferred Shadow of War more.
yeah. Tim, what are your honorable
My
mentions?
honorable mention. Thanks.
See, I
Greg.
passed you
I
the phone
appreciate that. I appreciate that. My honorable mentions, similar to Andrea, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
You guys are monsters.
It would be on my top 10 for sure, based on how much time I put into it and how much fun we all had together. But I played the hell out of Mario Kart 8 and its DLC, so none of it was really new. Having the 2 items where you can like hold them and stuff like that did change the gameplay a lot, but I feel like it didn't change it enough where, unless I was conscious of that, I wouldn't have even realized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I never played Mario Kart 8 to a competitive level that mattered.
Sure.
But yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was fantastic, and I think a great example of why the Switch can succeed in terms of local multiplayer and stuff. So that was great. So definite honorable mention to that. And Nier Automata. All year, I mean, I was excited for it before it came out. All year I've been like, I want to play it, but other stuff kept coming, and I was just like, one day during the break, I sat down and was like, I'm doing this. Got about 4 hours in, and I'm like, I get it. The whole game is like the story of Metal Gear Solid 2's ending, and I'm like, that's fucking cool. And the gameplay,
Jack and Rose.
all about. Like, it is, I love how from any moment it goes from an arcade shmup to a Devil May Cry style action game and all this. But the problem with, and I feel like it's seamless, which is great. It just got a little samey for me, even within the 4 hours, where I was like, I don't know that I want to keep going on this. And I feel like it's been overhyped to me to the point that I'm expecting moment to moment to be super crazy and amazing, and it's not. And that's my problem. But
Sure.
I want to give it an honorable mention because I really enjoy it. It is super freaking cool. I just think that I came too late.
You missed the window.
I missed the window for it to be this special thing that everyone has. It's like already knowing that there are different endings and playthroughs and stuff. I'm like, it just makes me want to YouTube it instead of actually playing through it.
Sure.
Especially because like from what I play, and I hear that it gets better every playthrough, but even within 4 hours, like all the enemy types are exactly the same thing. And it's kind of the same dude, but slightly bigger, doing the same type of attacks. And I'm just running around shooting a lot of lasers. All right, cool. But I love the anime-ness of the whole thing, and it's super over the top and ridiculous, and their outfits are like, what the fuck are you it's so Japanese in the best way. But just an honorable mention for me. And then 2 more honorable mentions that I was gonna shout out as we were doing the top 10 because there was analogs and games that did make it. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy and Metroid Samus Returns. Metroid Samus Returns didn't make the list because there's another game that I was debating between. I'm like, it's in the same category where it's like, it's a good game, but I've already played the original one before, so it is just kind of a remake, and I feel like it never really... I liked it a lot more than I expected to because I was like, I hate Metroid 2, and I just want a new Metroid game. And playing this, I was like, oh man, this is a taste of what a new Metroid game can be, and that's awesome. But it never really quite got there. And having to reface this, like getting all the Metroids over and over, I was just like, it's too much of the same. But Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, obviously, I love Crash. And I want to give a shout out to them for delivering the game I wanted, which was the first 3 totally remade from the ground up, the original soundtracks remade with like proper orchestration and all that. And that was awesome. Making the games play exactly how they used to, having all the relics, adding saving. That was a perfect rendition of what Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3 can be. But I'd be crazy to put that on a top 10 list. You know what I mean? Even I understand that. And for everyone asking, no, I have not platinumed it. Every once in a while I pop in and I'll get a couple more relics, but that shit's fucking hard. So I think that's it for honorable mentions.
Okay.
Andy?
I might call an audible here, guys.
Oh, he's got a phone!
Because I'm realizing
What's wrong, Andy?
I'm gonna put Odyssey in my top 10.
Oh, finally, logic has won out.
Because
Are you looking at the YouTube chat? You saw they were getting really mad at you?
I had Night in the Woods in my top 10 and realized I preferred Mario over that.
Okay,
even though I
good.
really liked Night in the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is easily top 11.
Night in the Woods, another game I started and was enjoying and just stopped. And
Yeah.
got
Great
out of it.
writing. I mean, the gameplay is whatever, but it's all about the story and the writing, and it's really awesome and well done, and the art style I absolutely love.
Yeah, she got moonlighted.
What?
From the Oscars. Would it be? Would you get moonlighted or would you get
La La Land.
La La Land?
No, but that's weird though.
But
La La
as a
Land did-
verb, it's moonlighted. You know what I mean?
Okay.
yeah.
Because the
Mario Odyssey got moonlighted.
Okay.
In my top 10, PUBG.
Is your top 10 ranked?
Are you trying to
No.
goad me?
Okay, my
Go get him, Andrea.
my
No,
top,
it's fine. It can be in his
my
top,
top
10.
10 is not ranked, although I do have a definitive game of the year. So
We're saving those for the end, right?
The
Game of the
definitive?
year?
I mean, if it's your top 10. So if yours is
What's
ranked,
going to
it's
happen
ranked.
is after we go through the number one,
Andy's
we're
gonna
all gonna
change
decide
it.
what
There's a
game of the year is
discussion,
going to vote or whatever.
yeah, I'm
So,
just gonna name. I'm gonna name the 9, and then I'm gonna go. Here's the game of the year.
Okay.
So get ready, folks.
Get fucking ready,
You're
guys.
listening to
Strap
this.
in.
Gatorade, get
If
high
you're in
moment.
traffic, find somewhere to park
Pull
because this
over.
is fucking wild right here. So PUBG, had a great time with it on PC.
Fuck yeah.
Now it's on Xbox. I think it's really not great on Xbox, but I know that they're
No.
improving it. Well, it's great on your Xbox One X.
It is.
And
I mean, it's as good, isn't it? It's PUBG. Go ahead on the mic, Kevin. You and me have played a lot of PUBG.
playing
You
on a
can get in there.
PC is obviously the way to go.
Sure, but you
And
get
it's
just,
still
you get
not
mocked by
great
the
on-
jocks walking by and the pretty girls.
Inventory management is incredible. Is way better on PC compared to console. It's just like night and day.
But it's still not
That's
good.
a development problem.
Are you talking
right?
about PC?
It's
On PC, it's still
no,
like,
it's
I don't know,
'cause
it's annoying
the
to play.
PC
It's
version
hard to
being bad
fucking
is
run.
very different than the Xbox version
Yeah.
being bad. Like PC's version.
I 100% agree with it,
I
and
don't
I
even think it's
love
bad
it.
on PC. You
At
just
this
hit the
point.
tab button. You fucking click. Like it's easy.
You
It's easy.
hit the line button on your Xbox. There you go. You're all set. You're in
There
your
you go.
inventory.
It's not easy, dude.
It's an amazing game.
But
is what
hopefully
it
they
is.
patch it and they improve upon it. But again, that game, unlike any other game, is where the intensity in every fucking moment in that game. Hearing gunshots, knowing that you don't have weapons, knowing that you need to try to figure something out. Am I gonna hide? You might fucking win. You might get a chicken dinner with 1 kill, or like I see Danny O'Dwyer getting fucking 18 kills or whatever. Like, I think it's just like it's a game unlike any other, maybe Fortnite. But I think it's awesome, and it's in my top 10. Splatoon 2. Loved Splatoon 2. Story mode was meh, but multiplayer was the absolute. The multiplayer was the total like one more match game where every night I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do one more match. Like, and then I would check my last 50 games and I would be like 38 and 12. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna keep playing. I want to improve my ranking or whatever. I love the way that they deal with improving your gear, your hat, your shoes, your clothes, or whatever. Getting perks for them. If you don't like the perks that your gear has, you can re-roll and like delete all the perks and then try to get new ones. And maybe I want to be a faster respawner, or maybe I can take more shots from other players or whatever. I had a blast with that game. Also, the Horde mode was really awesome, and I don't think enough people talk about it. Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Yeah.
That was another game that I feel like just kind of came and went by, and we kind of just forgot about it.
Yeah, 100%.
And that sucks because it's a really good game. And I think even in our review, it sounded like we were being negative, but we were just like, well, compared to other Uncharted, it's not as good, but this is still better than most games out there right now.
Sure.
I loved Claudia Black.
Yep.
I love her acting as Chloe. I think we got to see a more well-rounded Chloe in this game, and it was like, I think she acted so incredibly well, and I fucking adored her.
Yeah, she was great. It was just, I think, the Nadine relationship I didn't dig. I didn't vibe with. You know, she was hired. She was just a hired gun, right? And then at the end, they try to act like they're friends, but I'm just like, wow, you never really sold that to me. The performances are great. I just didn't see the story connection to it.
I agree. I
didn't
do like
think
the twist at the end was kind of neat. There were some great moments with, spoilers, Troy Baker. That was really cool. So
Yeah.
I really
He could've come
enjoyed
in earlier,
I really
probably.
liked that game, yeah. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Hell yeah, that's my
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Dude, fucking, we're giving a high five if you're an audio listener.
We're just
We're giving high
That
five.
was not a high five
Prove it.
for the
dude.
record.
Fucking prove it, Andrea. Again, for someone who never owned a Wii U,
Yep.
for someone who maybe played Mario Kart 8 on a Wii U, honestly, once or twice, this was a brand new game to me. And I had such a blast playing. And this game came out, I'd say, right
April.
as I was moving, like right when I had moved here.
Yeah.
And so it was the best way for me to keep playing video games with people from Rooster Teeth still, like Michael and all those people. It's just Michael and all those people.
All his friends.
Michael and
friends.
Meg and Lindsay and all them. It was cool being able to reconnect with them and stay connected via Mario Kart 8. And then we had tons of tournaments that we would play with
The audience, yeah.
on stream against people. And then the great moment where you destroyed Zyger, because
it was just the
man, what a
best.
loser that kid is.
Yeah, I know, right?
It was awesome, man. Mario
It's okay, Zyger.
No, we love you, Zyger. Just a little bit. So that's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Here we
What
go.
a fucking good
What
game,
a game,
dude.
Andy.
What a very
What
good
a
game. Again, this game came really late to me. I did not play it. I did not. I played it for like maybe 2 or 3 hours, and then Zelda came out, and then I just got sucked into Zelda. Thought I'd never go back to Horizon Zero Dawn.
Dummy.
I think in my opinion, the weakest part of that game was Aloy. I just didn't like her as a character, but I loved the world. I loved the combat. They made crafting a little bit easier for you, like compared to other RPGs.
Yeah, it was
it's just
fun.
sort of like it's really quick and on the spot. This was a game that I played maybe if I forgot when we were at one of Nick's stand-ups. And Yusuf Magid, who works at Ubisoft, was like, "Oh, you got it. You have to play it." I was like, "I know. Everybody tells me that, but whatever." And he's like, "No, dude, fucking play it." So I finally dove in and I beat it in like maybe 2 weekends because I had shit to do during the week. And I'm so glad I went back to do it. I really enjoyed that game, and I think it was so well written. Probably one of my favorite stories of the year.
Yeah.
The dual storylines, just
Yep.
like perfect sci-fi. I loved it. Destiny 2. Destiny 2, guys. We're just a couple of warlocks and hunters and titans
Hunters just doing
taking over the world, man. We had a blast with that game. I haven't touched it since. I have not played the DLC, and I'm acting like the DLC doesn't exist because I know a lot of people didn't like it.
But it's worth checking out. I was playing last night.
Okay.
So
I've run through the story part. I enjoyed myself.
Okay. I need to go back to it.
But I'm gonna talk about Destiny 2, I guess, at some point.
well, I'm also gonna. Yeah,
We're all gonna talk about this.
We're all
Okay,
talking
great.
about it. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it when y'all talk about it. Moving on to the next game, Wolfenstein 2. A game that I had a fucking pain in the ass of a time with.
Yeah.
Because it's just like so brutal and it just beats you into the ground, and then I lowered the difficulty all the way, and it was way too easy. But I was like, I need to
wanna
leave
see
it
it.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I have such momentum right now. I want to beat this game within the rest of the day or whatever. Awesome story. The characters it's some of the best characters I've ever seen in any video game. Voice acting was great. I really wanted the guy who played Set, the Jewish guy, who's sort of like your I don't know, he's kind of like your Yoda almost.
Okay.
Helping you out and shit. I really wanted him to be nominated for like best performance at the Game Awards. I thought he was incredible. Super over the top action. Some crazy insane shit happens in this game, and it's one of those just things that you're watching like, holy shit, these are video games in 2017, and it's pretty fucking cool. Video games are cool, man.
Video games are cool.
And then I beat the game, and I think aside from some level design issues, I think it was really good. The outro was kind of cheesy. They had like some cheesy new metal playing.
You love that.
And it's just like, oh man, fuck. This ending was so good. And, this music's pretty shitty. It was really cheesy. And I had like 2 of my friends who had just beat it, like maybe a couple weeks after I played it. They texted me, they're like, what's up with the music at the end of this game? Dude, I was like, yeah, dude, it's really corny. Nier Automata. I've become a believer in Nier Automata. A game I never thought I'd play. But as soon as I got into it, I'm like, man, this is such a Kojima Metal Gear 1 and 2 style game. The way I was telling Greg, like even the way the inventory sounds, the little beeps, the noises that you're hearing from clicking, and it's just so fucking rad. Now I know that I talked about this on an earlier Gamescast. I wish I had all the money in the world to give them a bigger budget for this game, because a lot of their resources were poured into having you replay this game over and over again. It seems like there are like tons of art assets that just look really bad, and like you're looking at your characters and they look really awesome, and it looks like artists spent fucking months working on them, and then there's like a crate next to you that's like, oh god, how did that make it into the game? But I beat it I beat it over over Christmas break. Started my second playthrough and immediately saw what they were trying to do with it. And I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome and creative. And props to them for like putting that much hard work into it. And then everybody keeps saying, I keep having Tom Bach texting me, and like Danny War is saying like, dude, on the third playthrough, it gets even more insane. And so I'm really excited to see what happens then.
Are you gonna go back and do it again?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm still playing through part 2. I haven't beat the second playthrough. I am dreading the parts that I didn't like in the first playthrough though, but because it's all from a different perspective, I'm wondering how they're gonna work with. There are going to be certain moments in the game where I'm going to be like, how are they going to do this? And when I get there, I'm probably going to be really happy with it. But I think it's just so creative and so well done and like, oh, it's fucking awesome. And I guess finally, Game of the Year, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
What more needs to be said? Talked about this game nonstop, forever. I think it's a game that is a technical feat. The things that they do with the way the rules in the world works, it's like, how I said Hob is like a level designer's dream. This is like a programming dream. Like just the way lightning works with metal and fire and wood and the snow and slipping and throwing a fucking sword at a Korok and him spitting out a clean sword. You know, like there are so many different things in this game. This was when we played it, talking to all of my friends at Rooster Teeth, like going back to work the next day, like, dude, did you see this part? Like, no, but I saw this yesterday. Like, where the fuck do you see a dragon at? Like, it just like sort of blew my mind, and it made me feel like a kid again. And it's my game of the year, probably my game of the last 4 centuries, Greg. Yeah, dude.
Well,
Wow.
Game of the lifetime.
wow.
It's new chess.
I told y'all can stop parking. You can keep driving now. But I told y'all this is gonna be a doozy.
You
man.
did. You got it. You got there in the end. You landed the plane.
Andrea, what is your top 10 games of the year 2017?
All right. I, like Andy, have mine unranked.
I like you too, Andrea.
I like you, Andy. But I do have a game of the year. So first up is The Evil Within 2. So this was a surprise for me because I went into playing this game fully expecting to not like it because I don't like survival horror. It's just not my genre. I don't like being scared when I play games. I like having fun and feeling powerful. And that's like the exact opposite of what survival horror is all about. But we decided to play this game for our Lights Off series that we did. And Britt, was cheerleading me through like the whole thing. And about a third of the way into the game, I started realizing I wanted to keep playing it even when we weren't shooting. And I was like, that means I like this game.
Whoa.
I did not expect that to happen. And I actually like this game a lot. And I didn't play the first one all the way through. I played like the first like half of it or a little less than that and just never went back to it. But this one, like, they had a really nice balance of this action adventure combat with a little bit of exploration, and it kind of felt like there was also like a little bit of dungeon crawling involved, and there were some puzzle elements. It was just a really nice, fresh mix of gameplay that kept you on your toes. The enemy design was really bizarre and crazy and unlike anything I've ever seen. But then again, I don't play a lot of these types of games, so other people out there might be listening going, I've seen that kind of stuff all the time. Shinji Mikami, he's weird.
You sickos.
But I really thought that they balanced it well, and it made somebody like me who doesn't like that genre feel like I could go try other stuff in that genre now. But I also know that it's not a true survival horror. It is a blend of, action and combat, which some purists might say is not the way that the genre is supposed to be, but I really enjoyed it, and I would encourage people who are maybe on the fence about trying it to give it a whirl because it was a really well done game, and hats off to Tango and to Bethesda for that game. Next is Prey. So I kind of went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to include this game in the top 10, but the more I thought about it, the more I really liked it. From exploration standpoint, it really did a great job, and it reminded me so much of BioShock in that sense. I know a lot of people made a lot of comparisons to BioShock with Prey, but I think that Bethesda did a really good job with how it was all laid out. I did not play either of the or the first Prey, and I know that they had nothing to really do with each other, so I don't think it really mattered. And so I kind of went into it like completely fresh, not knowing what to expect. I like that you could choose your gender at the beginning of the game and how that affected the way that characters interacted with you. I liked how you could make subtle decisions in regards to the skill tree that would affect how characters would interact with you and how different gameplay elements would affect you later on in the game. It's something that you don't see very often, and I actually haven't really seen it done specifically in this way before. I liked how, you kind of got those little audio tidbits of lore and information around the world, which some games have done really well because it makes me feel like I can keep exploring while still like listening to what's happening and getting some backstory without having to stop and read like a giant wall of text. And I also really just kind of loved this idea of this alien species and how humanity had approached it and what they were going to do with it. Obviously, a narrative element that's been done in cinema and in TV and things before. But I thought it was really well done. I did have some gripes about it, about its inventory management, about crafting, and some other specific gameplay things. But overall, would play again.
I had always liked Prey, the events and the preview events and jumping in. And when I got home and dedicated the afternoon to playing it and sat down with it, I was like, I like the overall picture here, but it is the little gripes of inventory in this and like the pacing of this that kept me away from actually going back to it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the hard part, because I think that with a few minor gameplay tweaks, that game would have been a top 5 Game of the Year contender for more people. I feel like Bethesda keeps putting out these kind of dark horse games that are really close to being
like almost
at the top,
there.
but they're not there yet. But it was a successful game, and I hope that they make more. They certainly left the door open. I won't say how, but I hope that they explore that more and explore that universe. What Remains of Edith Finch is in my top 10. So I loved this game. A lot of people consider it, like a little indie darling from Giant Sparrow. I'm not really big into walking simulators as a genre. I feel like they get kind of boring, and unless there's a lot of really fantastic world building or really beautiful art, they don't grab my attention, and I felt like this game had both. And the way that they diversified gameplay within each of the individual short stories I thought was really clever. Did you guys play?
He did.
I did, yeah.
Oh, you didn't play? You have to play. It's not that long. It only takes like 2 or 3 hours. But it explores some topics that are usually a little taboo in video games, and that's why it was also nominated for the Games for Impact award. And I just really, really loved it.
Inverted controls versus non.
Yeah, yes, super divisive, right?
Yeah.
Also, you inverted monsters.
Yeah, no.
Exactly.
Nick's correcting me.
But I really like that
We're breeding
game.
them out, don't worry.
Yeah, I just felt like I kept talking about this game. So if you guys haven't played it, I highly recommend checking it out. It won't take up too much of your time, and you won't.
Play unfinished one
It's another
first.
one of those that I've
You don't-
heard
you don't need to play that
nonstop
first.
things
But
about.
then there's a moment in that game where you go, holy fucking shit, what? Play unfinished one first.
Also on this list, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus. I don't know how it didn't make top 10 for you. I thought this game was phenomenal. It was so well done. Machine Games really kind of putting the flag in the sand, saying, single player experiences are here to stay, and we're going to show you why with a first person shooter, no less, of all the different types of genres to do single player in. The storytelling was superb. The animation, the graphics looked excellent. Combat was really fluid, really well done. I mean, of course, I have a few small complaints here and there, which is why it's not my, game of the year. But overall, just like masterclass in game making. I think Machine Games did a fantastic job. The difficulty level was something that I think a lot of people had a lot of gripes about. I also dropped it down to the as Alexa Rice says, the baby ass baby mode, where he's wearing the bonnet and the binky or whatever. No shame. I played it on easy, but it was really great. Some really like shocking moments narratively that I didn't see coming, but I really liked how they incorporated them into the overall storyline.
Yeah,
And-
it wasn't like shock for the sake of shock. It was
right. It felt like it made sense in that universe and with the elements of the story that they had set up without going into details because spoilers. But really great game. Also on my list, of course, is Destiny 2. I I love this game. I'm still playing this game. Have I griped a lot about this game? Yes, I have. So it's a love-hate relationship with me and Destiny. But overall, the thing that just keeps pulling me back into the game was the same reason why I played Destiny all, since it launched and kept playing it all the way up until Destiny 2 came out, is that the gameplay is just so addictive and the gameplay loop is so satisfying. I know that if I boot it up when I go home tonight after shooting this, I can do the weekly missions and go out and have fun doing them, even though they do get repetitive, because the gameplay is just so well done. That's why I gripe about it so much, because I want it to be the best game it can be, and I know that they're on the struggle bus right now.
It's like when parents are like really hard on their kids, like when they're the coaches.
We expect more from you.
Yeah.
We're not mad. We're disappointed.
Yeah. Definitively better than Destiny, but I feel like they still have a ways to go before they can be in true Game of the Year territory. Also on this list, Super Mario Odyssey, of course. Definitely not a Game of the Year for me for a variety of reasons. I think it just felt too Mario, using the same elements that Mario's been using. And I know Tim's giving the eye roll. I think though that when you talk about a game on a brand new system and that's been around for decades, it can't be Game of the Year unless you bring something really fresh to it, and I just don't feel like Super Mario Odyssey had that. Like ultimately, like the same characters, the same storylines, the same type of level design, the same type of boss design. That to me was really where it fell short, but where it was really excelled is, the artwork looked amazing again. The music was great. The whimsy was fantastic. It was very lighthearted, and it felt fun to always pick up and play. Not every game does. Some games feel like work, or some parts of some games feel like work and don't feel fun. And Mario didn't have that. It just didn't capture me the way pun intended, the way that I wanted it to. And it was a little bit of a letdown. And I waited until very late in the year to play it. And so everyone was like, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10. I love this game. It's the best. And I played it and was like, yeah, this is great. This is an excellent game. It's just not the best game, but it still obviously deserves a spot on my list for sure. Life is Strange Before the Storm. So in full disclosure, I did a lot of work with Square Enix and Deck 9 this year, so I don't want anyone being like, oh, it's on her list because they paid her. They did actually pay me to talk about this game. Not today, but
at a specific time.
Not today, but I of course wanted to say that. But I love how they took a really simple type of game where you're essentially just it's pretty much like a walking simulator again, with these narrative choices, and really made it feel real. And particularly being a female and having this young woman relationship and having so many of the conversations that they've had really remind me of exact conversations I had with my girlfriends when I was that age, was quite frankly a little baffling how they nailed it so well. And so that's why it deserves a spot on this list for me, because the writing was so well done, and the animation, while very simple, felt like it fit. Like the art style feels right for this type of story. And I just really love how they took a really simple type of game and made it approachable for people who don't necessarily play video games. Like I could hand this to like my cousin who's never picked up a controller, and she would be able to figure it out relatively easily. And I love that. And I hope they bring Before the Storm to mobile someday to make it even easier for people. But really great game. If you haven't played that, you should definitely check that out too. Of course, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild has to have a spot on this list. I've said over and over again why this is not my game of the year. I don't need, like Andy, like we've talked about Zelda like a bunch, but really fantastic game design from Nintendo, something new and different. I still maintain, like Brittany and I have talked about on our show, that if this wasn't a Zelda game, I don't think anybody would have it on their top 10 list. So that is something I think that needs to be part of the conversation. That said, the polish in this game is off the charts. Nintendo is fantastic with polish. And that's something that I think needs to be talked about when we're talking about Game of the Year, which is why I will never have PUBG in this conversation, because there is no polish in that game. But of course, it's Zelda. It deserves to be in the top 10, and you guys know why. My last game before my Game of the Year, Assassin's Creed Origins. So I talked about this game a lot on Games Daily and on What's Good, but I was just really blown away by the amount of world building done by the team at Ubisoft on this game. the most beautiful open world this year by far. The art, everywhere I went, the art was just fantastic. You talk about how in Nier that there was these pieces of art that just stood out because they were so bad. That did not happen to me at any point in Assassin's Creed, and that world is gigantic. And that to me is an amazing accomplishment, to have an art team so dedicated to building a world that felt real, that was historically accurate where it could be, and to really represent that part of Egypt as in the best light absolutely possible, and to make it feel authentic and immersive. They did such a great job with that. The narrative left a few gaps that I, would like to see filled. But the gameplay I felt was really addictive and really fun, and I just lost a lot of time just exploring in that world. Something I wanted to happen in Zelda, but didn't. But I found that in Assassin's Creed. And the dynamic they have between Aya and Bayek as a couple in Assassin's Creed, and kind of them showcasing their relationship in a very adult and mature way, is something that the Assassin's Creed franchise and most video games don't tackle. And so I really liked the way that they did that. And you probably don't know what I'm referring to if you haven't made it pretty deep in the game. But overall, really, really fantastic game. Definitely one of my top contenders. But of course, my game of the year is Horizon Zero Dawn, which I've said earlier this year. But it's been and I thought something was going to come along and knock it off, but nothing has. And even going back and playing the Frozen Wilds reminded me why this game is just so phenomenal in every single way, from the combat and the narrative to the level design and the way that they tie the side quests into the main quest and make it all pay off in the end. I just can't say enough about how amazing this game is from every single aspect. And I definitely looking forward to playing it again. Still the only game I've ever platinumed.
Wow.
Boom.
You know about My Name is Mayo, though, right? It won't take you long. It's just tapping on a Mayo jar for a while. You'll get it.
Now, Greg, I want you to do your top 10, but before we do that,
I'm going to stretch
this
out.
episode is sponsored by Blue Apron. Now, I'm going to give you a couple facts about Blue Apron here. Blue Apron, the leading meal kit delivery service in the United States. You know about that, Andy?
I didn't know that, Tim.
Did you know that they also offer 3 different meal plans?
Didn't know that either.
For a
man.
variety of different users. 2-person meal plan, meals that serve 2 people. You can choose from 8 new recipes per week with the choice to receive either 2 or 3 recipes any week. There's the family meal plan, meals that serve 4 people. Choose from 4 new recipes per week with the choice to receive either 2, 3, or 4 recipes each week. And then this one's for Gia Tap Harris. The wine plan. 6 bottles of wine from renowned winemakers delivered monthly. And Greg, there's a special thing going on right now. For 8 weeks, ending on February 26th, Blue Apron's teaming up with Whole30 to bring you delicious recipes. Our menu will feature 2 Whole30 approved recipes each week. So you can kickstart your new year with Blue Apron and Whole30. Greg, you love Blue Apron.
I do love Blue
Tell
Apron.
us about it.
I use it all the time. How much do I love Blue Apron? They gave us codes, obviously, to do it so we could do the ads, right? I, of course, still use it to this day, even though the codes are running out. I signed up for the wine with my own money because I think that's great. When Cool Greg learned that there was going to be a Blue Apron cookbook and sent me the signing information, I pre-ordered the cookbook and then cooked my New Year's Eve dinner out of it. Those amazing lamb chops, or that rack of lamb I had on there and stuff. I think Blue Apron's amazing. As somebody who has a cooking show, in quotes, it gets me to learn new ways of cooking. It gets me to try things I would never try before. Jen's got me eating all sorts of fish and stuff that I never would have been eating before. Blue Apron's great.
How's the wine thing?
The wine's great too, because you just get these little bottles of wine. You get 6 half bottles of wine that you can try new things of, new wineries, new thing.
You looked at Andrea like she should know.
Why? Is that what you call a half bottle of wine? Is a half
Yeah,
bottle
they're
of
called a
wine
half bottle. That's correct.
Well, if you would like to get in on this, Blue Apron is treating Kinda Funny Gamescast listeners to a $30 off your first order if you visit blueapron.com/Gamescast. So check out this week's menu, get your $30 off with free shipping at blueapron.com/Gamescast. Blue Apron.
A better way to cook.
There you go, Greg.
I'm serious though, man. It's not even the ad money they're giving us.
What's your top 10?
Well, I ranked them.
Okay, so did I.
Kids on the internet love ranks. They love numbers. They love arguing about them. Thank you, Kevin. Here, I'm going to give you some stuff to argue about. Number 10, Resident Evil 7.
Fuck you.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Resident Evil and me. I should be a Resident Evil fanboy.
Sounds like a shitty
All right?
cartoon show.
I should be the
Resident
number
Evil and me.
one Resident Evil fanboy because I love fucking zombies. They're my favorite genre. Well, I got that PS1 back in the day. You tell me, friends
Play Metal
passed
Gear
me.
Solid, and you're like, I love cinematic experiences.
Right, exactly. And then she's like, the tank controls, always garbage. They move away from the tank control and they make it too actiony. Don't care. Typewriters, get the fuck out of my face.
What about
I don't have
4?
time for this
Bring
one.
tank
like
controls
4?
back.
No, I did not like 4.
You did not like 4.
I played with 4. And again, as objective critic, I'm like, oh, I see why people love this. I just did not dig it because it was another one of those games where I shoot you in the head. And it's like, oh, that didn't. I'm like, you're a zombie. Well, no, they're umbrella. I'm like, oh my
You
god,
shoot them in the
fuck off,
fucking
everybody.
legs and they fall down, and then you go attack them so you could conserve bullets. You fucking loser.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't even want to shoot anybody. I want to run
Love
by.
the aggression.
This is why, for all the days of your lives, all you need to know is that State of Decay is 20 times any Resident Evil in terms of being a zombie game. And being a zombie game, State of Decay, unrivaled.
Shots fired.
Unrivaled.
I mean,
Get your rucksack, fill it up. Some zombies run and hide from them. You want to fight them, but
my
something's
thing
going
is,
to break.
I can't even hate on that because like even Resident Evil 1 jumps the shark in terms of zombie
I
stuff,
know.
where it's like not even a third into the game,
To
you're
even be-
facing sharks and shit, and like the fuck.
To dial it back to a more like, hey, let's have a real conversation about it. It's just that I kept putting my zombie tropes onto their shoulders, and them going, "That's not what we're doing." And I'm like, I don't like this, and I can't fault them for
that
that.
statement was State of Decay. Crazy. I like that.
He's back. Andy is
Fuck
back,
yeah,
everybody.
2018,
The
guys.
engine is warmed
New
up.
year, new
look
me,
out,
guys.
Look out, everybody. Resident Evil 7, though, if you remember, about this time last year, wasn't I? Or maybe a little bit before this, I was saying, like, something's wrong with that game, man. Haven't seen enough of that game, man. It's not coming out in January. And then it fucking came out in January, and I was like, well, something be wrong with it. And I was like, I'm gonna play PSVR to see how broken this is. Because everybody talking about VR games has always said it needs to be built from the ground up for VR. You just can't make it play both ways and have it be good. And I put it on, I was like, oh, screen door effect on the floor. This is gonna be a piece of oh my. And then 4 hours later, I took it off. Portilla's at my feet. The room's pitch black because I was playing when the sun was out, and now the sun isn't out. And that game was that good, that enthralling of like, fuck, I did not expect this. I'm immediately behind this family. They ditched, for the most part, spoilers for the ending, of like the whole like real sciencey fiction and we're a corporation, what the hell's going on. It was just like, what's up with this fucked up family, and let's go around and explore and figure it out and solve the puzzles and kill the witch and do all these different. I was like, yes.
And what's
This
even
was
crazier
awesome.
about it is going off what you were just talking about. Like that game was announced at E3 and then released in January.
Yeah.
And like no delays, no bullshit, and full VR from the ground up, or not from the ground up, but like for the
You
whole
could play
game,
the whole thing in VR,
entire
yeah.
game.
It wasn't
in
a
VR.
mode.
Well, it was
wasn't
also
something
always
stupid.
the kitchen demo, right? Like they had been
Well, yeah,
teasing
there
it
was
for a
that.
while, yeah.
But then that reveal that was actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also love that they were super secretive about that. It was like the kitchen demo wasn't something that they put online. Like only people that were at events could play that. Like all the other things, they'd be like, watch the full demo. You couldn't watch the kitchen before that.
Yeah.
And E3 having the demo, was it the kitchen? No, it was more than the kitchen. The at E3 that they released to people, right? It was
I
the
don't remember
second
anymore.
there was
Oh, the one that like ended and was like, this is Resident
beginning
Evil?
hour or whatever. I think it was called.
Yeah, where you're walking around with the camera crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that was
that's-
the problem. They put out too many fucking demos. I couldn't.
Yeah, but that was awesome though.
Yeah, no,
They nailed it.
They knocked it out of the park. I thought it was a great game. I thought it was fun. I'm not the survival horror person for the most part, or the scary game person for the most part, and it totally struck a chord with me. It was awesome. Played through the whole way and loved it. Number 9, I know a lot of people have a problem with Patapon Remastered. A lot of people's just Andrea, but I mean, it's my list.
I don't have a problem with it as a game.
Yeah.
I just think
You don't see
that
it's one of the
your
best games of the
personal
year?
bias is just heavily showing
What do you
here.
mean my personal bias? I was trophy consultant on this game. I'm the most unbiased person there could be for this game.
Consulted.
I mean, like, you know how it is. This is what I'm always talking about with top 10s versus your favorite games versus the best games. Like, these are my favorite games of the year. And for me, it was just that Patapon was back, and it was awesome to have that sensation again, and it was awesome to get trophies in it, and it was awesome to see it again. Shut up, dude. The games mean a lot to me. Come on. The fucking muscle memory of hitting it and that fucking sensation of nailing it right and seeing fever count up and up and up.
picture you
And
like-
like clown out a boss who's been giving you trouble there, but you don't fucking miss. You nail him with your fucking arrows. You fall back. You never even played it because you're fucking.
Just picture you doing ecstasy and like playing the game, like, oh man, this feels so good.
Sensations. But it was like, you know how it is in a game, especially when. What I love about Patapon, and especially when this is a game that came out 2008 or whatever it was. Like I don't remember how to beat everything. So to go into fights and then get destroyed, like fuck, okay, come out. You know, I'm gonna go in with only 2 units instead of 3. I need people who are back with ranged. Come back in and have the vibe where you have that perfect fight where you come in and you don't screw anything up. You give them a bunch of damage. Just as they come to slam, you have everybody run back. Then as they get up, everybody runs back in. Like. It's a rhythm game, but there's a music to it of how you're doing and when, granted, you can improv and do whatever you want in terms of what attacks and what you're using, but when it all syncs up, there's like no feeling like that, I feel like, in terms of like, God, this is for me, that is so great and rewarding and fun. And I got the platinum, first person in the world, no big deal.
Is one of your New Year's resolutions to not talk about Patapon in 2018? Now that
I've
you've
already started the
Patapon
campaign
3
for Patapon
remastered.
2 Remastered. Well,
Oh.
let's go in order. Here's my thing.
Oh, no.
Didn't they just announce that at PSX?
Oh, they did, right? Yeah. So now we got to start worrying about Patapon 3. Sorry, I'm still hung up on that. I'm thinking of the future. You're
Got
right.
it.
Now I got to start worrying.
It's a Mass Effect trilogy remaster. Fuck these Patapon games.
Why don't you support people who support you? You know what I mean? PlayStation's giving you what you want, but you won't give it to them. You're gonna go over there.
Go over where?
What are you talking about?
Now, here, a lot of people being Andrew, giving me shit here at this table for it's just my giant bomb list again, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now.
Oh shit!
We got
Exclusives.
breaking news. We have a shake-up in the rankings.
No!
We have a falling back to the number 8 slot is Life is Strange Before the Storm. Previously, it was in the number 7 slot. But it's fallen back to number 8 here because episode 3 came out and I played through episode 3 and the ending just went whoosh, and it was like, okay, cool. I mean, like I'm not offended, but I felt like the game for episodes 1 and 2 were way stronger when it wasn't like, now let's be crazy. Let's have some crazy things happen. I won't spoil it. You should still play it. Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Ecstasy. Changed everything.
A great game. Has, as I've said a million times now, no business being as good as it. It has no business being as good as it is. Not the same developer. We have no more powers. It's a prequel. I wasn't saying I wanted. Fell in love with it from the get-go. So many great moments in that game, and not even I don't have the inside track Andrea does on the conversations young girls have between each other. But it was like there were so many emotional moments to that story and character-defining moments that made Chloe that I know from Life is Strange season 1 make more sense. And that's like crazy. I think that you get a prequel that actually adds something of value to the lore to the point that I want to go back and play Life is Strange again just to see how it all plays together. Now at number 7, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. A fantastic game. Thank you. I fall into the same camp as Andy, where I just did not like my Wii U. So I would hope most people know I love Mario Kart. And so when it came to Wii, I played for a little bit. And I was just like, I just don't like this, and I can't give it a pass on this one. So for it to come out here, it was a brand new game to me with all the DLC and stuff. Like we did a few Let's Plays of it, but of it on Wii U back in the day. But like to get there and get into it and go crazy for stars and try to unlock stuff, and it's just awesome. I think it's the best Mario Kart. Sorry, Double Dash. Still better than a 7.9 for Andrea.
Fucking Jesus Christ.
Number 6, Everybody's Golf. I'm not going to sell it out like Andy did. All right? Everybody's Golf, a great game.
On his unranked list.
Yeah, and his honorable mentions.
I think
Yeah.
it's a great game.
You
man.
loved it. You loved it.
I did.
We had a lot of
I
times
did.
here. We had a lot of great times here, and we will continue to. I think that's one of the points to it is the fact that I'm still playing Everybody's Golf, which is weird. And not only am I still playing Everybody's Golf, I'm not just playing Everybody's Golf to level up or unlock things. It's just like Jen and I'll still be sitting there and just be like, you want to play some Everybody's Golf? Yeah, let's do 9 holes. We're going to go out in a little bit, but let's do that first and go through and play that.
Wish you called me, man.
You know, I know that you're a hating-ass hater, and now that I know we've pulled you out of the closet there, and we're like, this is what trolls look like, everybody. This is what it's like to get stabbed in the back by a man you thought you knew. Because this guy said he loved Everybody's Golf, but here when the rubber meets the road, guess where he's at? He's at the smoke shop, smoking it up.
This analogy has gone on for a very long time.
There was never
on a real
never
TV
had.
show. But as I've said before too, like, you know what I mean? Like that the first day I got Everybody's Golf and booted up at the desk and I took it off. After 15 minutes I turned to you, I'm like, I'm about to cry. Like, this is what I've always wanted this game to be, and it did. It nailed it. And I love the fact that there's still a community behind it. I'm still on the subreddit. I'm still checking in. I never
We
participated
still
in
need to do a
online
party mode because we created Nick Scarp. Well, I created Nick Scarpino in that game.
This is the best. Yeah.
And
Don't
it's
tell
great.
Nick. Don't tell Nick, everybody. But Andy created Nick in the game, and he used the child body. So Nick's about that
It's
big.
a child body with a big head and like the sort of Bruce Willis receding. It didn't have receding parted. It was just receding. But thick,
We gotta
puffy
do it.
beard.
Yeah.
Looks great.
The other thing
man.
I want to do, and I think I told you about it, is like I didn't realize that PSX, Sean Layden giving Everybody's Golf all sorts of shout outs on the stage. I'm gonna get his ass in here to golf with us.
Hell
No
yeah.
interview or anything. Let's have a couple
play
beers
some
from the
golf.
kegerator and let's just
Hell yeah,
fucking play
man.
some golf.
Hit the links, you know what
You
I'm
know
saying?
what I mean?
Fucking
Yeah.
grip it and rip it, Greg.
Okay, well, slow down on some of that. Number 5, Destiny 2. I'm shocked it made it this high based on where I would have been this time last year. Where this time last year I would have been like, oh, whatever. I like Destiny 1. I'm sure I'll try this one. I like Destiny 1 enough. Didn't get into it. Dropped out after hitting the level cap of vanilla. Then going to the event at Judges Week when they did the big reveal event down in LA, I was like, fuck, they're saying a lot of things that speak to what turned me off about Destiny 1. And then getting the game, yeah, like I played a lot with Andy, played a lot with Andrea, played with people, did multiple raids. I'm sitting there like trying something. God, The nights you and I would do it for 7 hours and just be like, well, we couldn't do it. Let's all go to, and you're like, you're mad and you're tired, but you're like, ah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
But it's like trying to wrestle with you. You're like, why was that a great time? We
Yeah.
we kept fucking failing.
Because it's so good.
Axes, dogs. Oh, no, fuck you. God, it's over. We got sucked in the
It's an
mouth.
experience that really reminded me of, well, obviously Destiny 1, but playing World of Warcraft back in the day in college. And like, I didn't want to be here at work. Like
Yeah.
I had the PS4 plugged in on my desk.
Yeah.
And you all were like recording a podcast. I was like, I have some shit I need to do, but I want to play Destiny. Like, it's all I wanted to do, and it's
Yeah.
all I could think about.
Yeah, and I mean, Platinumed it right before the new content dropped. Jumped in when the new content dropped, and I get to live in the best of both worlds. Where I think they dumbed Destiny 2 down to make it more of a casual game or more mainstream. I'm looking at you to see if you agree with that.
When you say dumb it down, you mean difficulty?
Yeah, not even difficulty, but I feel like the things most people are mad about sometimes like don't even affect me. Like I don't even pay attention. Like I'm just
No,
here
that's-
having a great time. I want to play for max 5 hours a week and feel like I did everything. Whereas
Right.
people are like, I want to never feel like I'm done or I'm getting rewarded.
No, you're absolutely right that the most of the nitpicky complaints that people like me and people like the Fran Mirabellas have about the game are people that play a lot. I mean,
Fran Mirabella off the leash about this game. He's like, I can just see him shaking his finger at
no, I hate
He's
it.
out there on
Stressing me
Twitter.
out.
I'm like, damn, you're mad at this, huh?
well, it's because when you invest, 1,000 hours or more into a game, you have very strong opinions about it. But I try to remind myself that this game wasn't designed to be that game, even though they're selling it as that kind of a game in the way that they talk about it from like this 10-year roadmap
Yeah.
and things like that. But I hope that they fully achieve their vision and that they stop making these incremental mistakes. It feels like one step forward, two steps back sometimes. But overall, like I said, when I was talking about it, like I want it to be good because it is good, but I want it to be better. I want it to be the best version of itself it can be. And I'm hoping when the next expansion comes out that they rectify some of these little quality of life issues.
Yeah. Loved it. Always down to play more. Number 4 on my list, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Again,
Way too low.
a lot of people are going to say that because a lot of people are wrong.
I think that's
fair.
I think that's right.
Thank you,
I
Andrea.
think that's
Thank
good.
you, Andrea.
Way too low.
No,
Yeah,
man,
thank
there's
you, Andrea.
there's a lot of
This
things
is the
about it that doesn't make it number one.
Game of the generation, man.
Well, you said a game of 400 years, I think.
Well, generation.
Oh, okay. The generation of human
Yeah.
existence.
Metric system.
Okay. No, but I mean, like, yeah, Zelda's awesome. Love Zelda. Again, I'm sure we're going to talk more Zelda in a second, so it doesn't matter. And I think you all know our thoughts on it. Number 3, Friday the 13th. Sorry, guys. Sorry to everybody.
Hey, dude.
Sorry to everybody. Again, favorite
This game
games.
wasn't on your
If
list.
PUBG can be on someone's list, Friday the 13th absolutely can be on someone's list.
Exactly. What? You love Friday the 13th.
I don't mind being on the list, but better than Zelda is like that's
Not
crazy
better.
to me.
Favorite. Again, there's a difference here of what are the best games of the year, and if we were doing like our votes were ranked by this, like if we weren't going to have a conversation about game of the year, maybe we have a different argument here. But this is favorite,
Maybe.
which is a completely different thing.
Maybe we'd have a different
Maybe.
argument.
I'm just saying, a lot of people have
Well, you
been
know what?
saying this
NBA
is.
2K18 is my game of the year then because I
we-
played it the most.
No, that's not what it comes down to. Friday the 13th, I mean, like, games are supposed to be fun, right? For the most part, or get an emotion out of you. And Friday the 13th is a game that, however hundreds of hours I've played of that thing, every time I boot it up, even for the 30-minute match last night to close out the stream, I have a blast in that game. There's always something happening in that game. And then granted, I know that I'm blessed in the way that I can just tweet out and get private matches together. I know people who are trying to play on public servers have a bigger problem, but it's just so much fun. And I feel like this is another thing similar in the Destiny vein, where there is the Friday the 13th community that's so much more hardcore about it than I am, and they're like, we don't get enough updates from the devs and blah 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 and all that stuff. I'm always so thrilled that like, oh man, they're adding a new Jason, they're adding this new thing, they added the lodge. I think it's a game that, as somebody who's for the first time ever getting on board with multiplayer games, I guess after now a year of getting on board with multiplayer games, they took care of me as a player and accomplished what I wanted as a player. And I jump back in there, and there's new rewards, and there are double XP weekends. Yep, servers suck. Yeah, it's glitchy as hell. All these other things. Yesterday we couldn't play GTA Online though, so who the fuck knows how any of these online games are supposed to work. Number 2, Horizon Zero Dawn. This was, of course, my game of the year for quite some time. We've talked it to death already, I think, too, but I loved it. From stem to stern, loved that game. It was that rare occasion where I'm doing everything. I'm going to do all the side quests. All right, well, I'm going to jump into a story. Holy fuck, that was interesting. I have to do. Oh my god. Okay, I'm going to keep. And I kept going because the story is so good. The story of what's happening both with Aloy and then the dual narrative is just like, holy shit. And then the amount of times you run into what I'll refer to as from The Last of Us, like the Ishmael story, where you run into a document and you're like, what's happening with these people?
Yeah.
And you start going and exploring and you want their entire story to figure it all out.
Incredible
Like,
world building, man.
they did an amazing job with that. And it was, it was a big map, but it wasn't an overwhelming map. It was I felt like I was making progress, and I was like, I want to clear off every icon on the map tonight on this section. You'd get it done. It was a manageable open world RPG, which so many things fuck up and put stuff in just to put things in.
Filler. Yeah, it didn't feel like there was filler in this. I felt like everything you were doing was towards another goal. And the thing that I was always so impressed by was how well done the animations and what would have been a simple interaction in so many other open world games. I was just continually in awe of how beautiful every part of that game was. Just so gorgeous. And if you have a PS4 Pro and you have a 4K TV and you haven't played it in HDR yet, you are missing out. Like
Horizon and Ratchet and Clank are the two
seen.
games that the HDR is like, holy shit, like this changes. It reminds me of the jump between 720 and 1080, or not even that, 480 and 1080.
Yeah.
Where you're like, holy crap, like from SD to HD. Because the 4K, it's like, man, it definitely looks nicer, but it's the HDR that makes you go, wow.
Yeah.
And Horizon is
I do think it suffered a little bit from the Mass Effect Andromeda syndrome of like these animations were not as important, so they were automated, and they do have a software running that detects vowels and that attaches to a certain mouth movement. So you did kind of get like kind of weird movements during animations.
I'd have like NPCs give me quests, right, that were just like giving out. And I remember there was one where the woman was like, whoa, whoa. Like, there's those
there's
little
weird
That
moments.
was in the Let's Play we did.
But
is that what it was?
I feel like that was so few and far between, though. Whereas in Andromeda, it was all over the place.
yeah.
But I feel like, to Andy's point, that Andromeda made people's like antenna go up for it, and then looked at it, and then remembered it. And not to mention that I think in this game, like when we get to my game of the year, and I know I've talked about it before, it's when I think we're getting so high, and like now that I'm talking about like games that are actually quality games, right? Like it'd be like Zelda, Horizon, and Mario, right? Like when you start debating what I think are three pretty perfect games, it does come down to like, well, when did I see one of these fuck up or do something I didn't like?
And I feel like with Horizon, the production value is that game's biggest strength. That things like that I think are more like where like I'd say level design in Mario is. So when Mario had bad level design, that's when I would fault that. So
fault.
Remember
they yell
seeing new enemies in that game was so special.
Yeah.
Like encountering a
Thunderjaw,
new enemy
yeah.
type in Horizon was so exciting. Like trying to figure out how to tackle that situation.
Yeah.
It's so great. The moment to moment of that game is incredible.
Yeah. And then my game of the year, Super Mario Odyssey. As I've said before, I just said all three of those games are amazing games, and it came down to me thinking about where was I having the most fun? And it was when I was playing Mario that I realized, of course, that I was just like, I have enjoyed every part of this. There has not been a gameplay mechanic. There has not been a level. There has not been a moment where I'm not having a blast, whether it's just throwing the cap, trying to figure it out, post-game stuff of, there was this one flight where I went to the top of one of the cities in New Donk, and I looked out there and I'm like, maybe if I chain the hat together and I get over, and I went up this building, did it, fell, restarted, climbed the fucking building again, did it. And it was like my fourth or fifth attempt where I did it. And it was like, that was awesome. And all I did was waste a bunch of time failing before this and screwing it up. And like the 45 minutes of the one where you go into the wall and you're 3D, but then the thing's moving, you got to stay 2D. But I like,
oh yeah, that one I actually walked away from the first time I did it. Because I was like, oh no, this is way too tedious. I can't do it. But then I sat down and
all the bullet bills
and worked it out, and finally was like, the sense of accomplishment you get after getting to the end and being like, I did it. Mario's always been really great for that.
Yeah.
The narrative, please do something else.
It's just, I hear
It's
you.
just so sad that Peach is just like reduced to the same character. I love Princess Peach. I have more artwork of Peach and Mario in my house than any other video game franchise.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, again. I did think I had a laugh out loud moment though with what happens after the
end?
final boss fight.
Yeah.
But I won't spoil it. But I was just like, I actually had to text Alexa afterwards to be like, I can't believe that that's the choice that they made. But
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, I can't believe that they made the choice to make the plot of the game Peach is captured. Blows my mind that we're still there. It's like, just don't give these games fucking plots if you're going to do bullshit like that. But
Yeah.
whatever. That's not why I play Mario. And it stayed out of the way more than even Galaxy did. So I was like, all right, Galaxy, I feel like there was so much text. There was so much being thrown at you. So many like cutscenes where I was like, I don't need this. Whereas this was kind of just boss fight setups.
Yeah.
Also, who are the Brutals? Like the wedding planners? Like those weird rabbit
The rabbit people,
characters?
they were just there to, get stomped on. I don't know.
But like, what do you mean they were just there to
Fodder.
get stomped on? This is your game of the year.
Yeah.
And you're just like, they were just there.
Gameplay's king. Like, I did not play this at all for the story. I don't care why I'm going after Bowser or this. Donkey Kong's a great game. I don't care why the fuck he's got her up there.
Yeah, but Donkey Kong isn't game of the year. I guess for me, when I think
bet
game of the
19,
year,
whatever it was.
story has to figure in somehow. It has to be part of it.
See,
Does
I don't
not
think
at all.
I don't think it does because I mean, if I'm talking about best narrative, all that shit, yeah. But I mean, in terms of, I don't know, like what games are. Games can be so many different things where there doesn't need to be a story. Like usually I'm with you, right? Like I'm totally this story guy, and that's why it was weird this year that I liked multiplayer stuff so much, or even this Mario game so much because I'm not a Nintendo kid either. But that just playing it was so much fun, and wanting to go back and play just to unlock more moons, collect-a-thon, of course, but to go back and be able to buy other stuff, yeah. Tim,
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Thank you. My number 10, Resident Evil 7.
Nice.
Biohazard. Everything you said about it, I totally agree with. I felt like it was a little longer than I needed the experience to be, and I feel like as it went on, it got worse. But the first half of that game, I was totally in love with. I feel like survivor horror is at home in first person, even though it really has its roots and stuff in, or I guess horror, maybe not even survival horror, but just more horror games. It's scarier when it's first person. It's even scarier when it's in VR.
Yeah.
And I loved that it was back to a house, back to something like a smaller enclosed place for most of it. And that really is what I want from a Resident Evil experience. And I feel like it kind of took up where PT or the promise of PT kind of left off. And I was like, I'm totally down for this because, I loved Resident Evil 1 through 3, not because of the games, but because what they stood for. I never enjoyed the gameplay of them, but I just thought they were so fucking cool. And the moment-to-moment things that would happen, I was like, I gotta keep playing. But like, I never liked the puzzles in the games. I never liked how it controlled. I loved Resident Evil 4. 5, I was like, too actiony, and 6, I didn't even play because I was like, this is not what I'm looking for.
I don't want no
So the fact that they went back and did this, I was like, wow, they really, they're listening. And I'm happy the game sold well too, because I hope that we'll see, if not more in this vein, more experimental, different ideas. Because I still think that this is low on my list because it was a great year in games, but also because there was some decisions they made where I'm like, I feel Resident Evil would have served better if this wasn't Resident Evil 7, if it was just Resident Evil Biohazard, and it didn't have any ties to the other ones, and it was the start of a new thing. But yeah, it's a very cool game, and the fact that they pulled it off in VR, and the fact that it did come out and was as good as it was, and I'm very impressed with it. Number 9, this is one earlier I was saying that I was debating between Metroid Samus Returns and Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. 2 games that I'm like, I really enjoy them, but I don't know, they're not perfect. And I played a lot of it, and I enjoyed it, but as I was playing it, there was a lot of moments I'm like, but I still prefer Fire Emblem. And it's different types of games, but it's a similar battle style, and the combat is similar. And I feel that the going into it, a lot of people were like, "This is dumb. There's no way this will work."
Surprise hit,
and it was such a surprise, and it was fun. It was like I always love when a game makes failing fun, and no matter when I lost, every time I was like, I know exactly what I did wrong, and now I can fix it. And it never went on too long. Each mission it felt built for a portable, which is great. And I feel like that's the kind of strength of the Switch, is when the games work in both ways. Yeah. And this was a perfect game for that. And I also think that it was cool to get a Nintendo IP game from Ubisoft. And I think they did a really good job with it. And the fact that it was as good as it was, it excites me for the future of Nintendo's properties and what they can do with it. And it was also cool seeing a game that, even though it was Nintendo, wasn't a Nintendo game that killed it on the Switch. Number 8, Injustice 2.
No, yeah.
Just played this over the break. And I am not a fighting game guy. I'm bad at them. I love fighting games. I love playing them. I've always loved the idea of them.
Same.
Smash Bros. Being the exception, and Smash Bros. I know is debated on whether or not it's a fighting game. But the last story modes
that's not actually a debate.
it's definitely a debate.
I've never heard anyone try to make an argument that it's not a fighting game.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Smash Bros?
Check the comments of this video.
Yeah, some people try to say that like in terms of like
It's a party game.
Yeah, it doesn't have like insane
use that
like
voice. I
combo
respect you.
requirements and things like that. Like
I respect
compared to the way Marvel vs. Capcom or
Sure.
Street Fighter would have.
It's a debate. It's a raging debate, which I don't care because I enjoy the game.
Yeah.
But the last real story modes I played in fighting games was probably Street Fighter 4, and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And even those games were still in you choose a character, you go through the story mode, you'll get an ending image with a bunch of text under it, maybe a cutscene. The Mortal Kombat games on the PS2 generation did a bit more with that when there was throughout the game different cutscenes. And I always enjoyed that. I enjoyed that if you played it with different characters, you get different outcomes and stuff. Injustice 2, maybe I'm just missing out on a bunch of change-ups in the last couple of years. This shit took it to the next level. And when you add the fact that it's DC characters, so I actually care, and a whole bunch of DC characters I've never even heard of, they did a masterful job with the story mode of you don't just choose a character and fight a bunch of people and then maybe get a couple cutscenes. Every level or every stage you play as a different character that is serving an overarching story. And I love it because I'm like, I don't know which character I want to play as. Like that's kind of the biggest hurdle with fighting games is trying to figure out what style suits you and all that. Like it's easier with things like Street Fighter where you know
What are the tiers and all that
archetypes,
shit,
right?
yeah.
But going into this, I was like, I don't know. Do I want Batman? Do I want Superman? Who do I want to play as?
Blue Beetle.
And the story mode helps that. You get a little taste of everybody. So, and there's certain parts of it where you get to choose which character you want to play as. And I thought that was a really good way to kind of whet your appetite of each character.
Did you play Injustice 1?
I did not.
Okay.
Is it the same way too?
The same story.
Same with the previous Mortal Kombat as well. NetherRealm has really kind of made that their
Innovated with that.
signature.
Yeah.
Really kind of having this unique take on the campaign. And I agree with you. It was really well done. And certainly Injustice 2 has taken what NetherRealm has been building for the last couple of entries into their signature franchises. And I am really looking forward to how they take what they did in Injustice 2 and bringing it into the next Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah,
Makes me happy because it feels like they could mail it in if they wanted. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people would buy this game. But
Well, so here's the thing. It goes beyond what I'm just saying here with the story mode. I was so impressed with that, but I had a feeling that it's been in a couple things before. But the facial animations and the production value and what they're going into this, I was like, good Lord. I always knew the game was pretty, but playing it, I was like, this is... it's the HDR and all that stuff. It looks fantastic. But then after I beat the game, I was like, okay, cool, I'm done. And there's this mode that's the multiverse mode, I think is what they call it. And I was like, oh, fuck, they got me right back in there. It's just a bunch of classic matchups from DC history that you go through. And then it kind of gets that like mobile game bullshit going on where it's like, well, if you do this, then you unlock these things. And if you do that, then you get, it's like, it's not microtransactions. It's like in-game unlocking where it's
Items,
like
right?
What's up?
Is it items?
Well, you get items and stuff, but then you also get to unlock different matchups and different
Gotcha.
times to play against the classic matchups you know. And I just loved it. Like, they got me hooked on that loop, and I was like, man, like this. There's a lot of meat in this fighting game from a single player perspective. So I thought that was great because, like I said, the last couple fighting games I played the hell out of them for a weekend.
Yeah.
And then it was done. But yeah, Injustice 2, very special. Number 7, Uncharted Lost Legacy. Had a great time with it. Yeah, is it Uncharted 4 or 3 or 2 or 1? No, but it's a couple hours of an amazing game unlike anything else. Until other people are making Naughty Dog quality games, there's no way this game wouldn't make my top 10. Like I said during the review, like I wish that this was annualized. Like I'd love a small experience, like just play through a movie, go. It's so much fun. I loved the twist with Sam, and I love that. And I think that was great. Number 6, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
No.
Super fun. Loved it. Had such a blast playing it. Every time I play it, it makes me feel stressed out.
Makes me feel alive.
And I love it. And I love that it suits different play styles. I'm the type of guy, I'm not good at shooting, so I can just run and hide.
Yeah, that's my man.
I love that because that's fun. You know, it's fun to just be like sneaking around, and I feel like the game creates a a sensation that I haven't really had in video games before, where it's like it reminds me of back playing Halo 1 Capture the Flag, like trying to sneak around with the flag, but it's so much bigger than that, and it feels like one moment you are alone in a world and the next moment you are surrounded by so many people, and I love that changes so quickly and you can feel so safe and so unsafe like, so quickly. Love that shit.
As janky as it was, it reminds me of playing DayZ when my friends and I were really into that, the standalone version on Steam, where obviously DayZ is not a competitive sort of thing, but people made it competitive, and not only is it you, it's zombies, but it's other people, and yeah, it's just a feeling of this like desperation that no other game really has created for me.
I don't think the jank never bothered me because I'm not playing competitively, and if something fucked up, I was gonna die anyways. Number 4, still my best I've gotten in that game. I saw you win some chicken dinners.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, on Xbox, the superior platform. Just kidding, it's not. Don't worry, come down.
Then number 5, we got Horizon Zero Dawn. Fantastic game.
Number 5?
Number 5, again, personal list. I think that game is great, and if we're just talking about production value, it's probably highest.
We're not just talking about production value. We're talking about character development, level design, art, animation, music.
I'm looking at his list right now. Whew, he's got some crazy ones in there. Ukulele.
Pull the car over, everybody.
This is Tim we're talking about. I remember the E3 prediction show. Pulling out the Gatorade hype moments.
Pull up the numbers. The thing with Horizon is I agree with a lot of that, but when it comes to character progression, when it comes to story,
really?
Yeah, the thing that I love about the game, I hated the opening of that game. Like absolutely, her being little.
Yeah.
Oh man, I hated it. Man. Hated it then. Hated it now.
It's such a short portion of the game, though,
and it set it off on such a bad foot. Like it sets it off of like, okay, this is the type of game we're getting, and then or story we're getting, and then we did. Like, but I'm being way too negative about that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I like about the game is how it feels. It looks as good as it feels, and it feels as good as it looks, and it looks perfect. Like it looks like it's definitely the most beautiful game I've ever seen, the most fluid game I've ever seen, and playing it feels that way as well.
Uncharted 4, best game I've ever seen.
I don't ever think that I could have imagined that a game did both of those things that well and added to each other in that way. But I feel like that game looking as good as it does makes it play better, and I feel like it playing as well as it does makes it look better. It's like that world, I feel like it exists. And I know we talk a lot about that when we talk about game worlds and all that. I think Horizon did a much better job even than something like Zelda, where I love Zelda so much. Spoilers, you know where this is going. But Horizon's worlds, I was just like, holy crap. The looks, the use of color in that game is unlike anything I've ever seen. Going back to the HDR, it's worth making sure you play that game in HDR because it looks that good.
The best way possible, yeah.
But yeah, I just love moving in that game. And again, when you can make the locomotion of a game right, that's when you really nailed it. And I was shocked by it because I going into it, I was like, this game looks really cool, but I don't think it's going to be that special. And it definitely was. I'm excited to see what they do with the sequel because I think that's really when they're going to take it up a notch.
The sequel will be my game of the year if it's starring Chloe Fraser.
Oh, wow. That'd be a cool crossover.
It would be.
She gets sucked through some kind of wormhole, pops out there.
And then this is what Andy's talking about. Number 4, Tim's list.
Wait, is this number 4 or number 3? Thought you just said number 4 was Horizon.
Number 5.
No, he said number 5 was Horizon.
My apologies.
Number 4, Sonic Mania. I've waited my entire life for a Sonic game that I can stand by from beginning to end.
Yeah.
I finally got it. Sonic 2 and 3 are my favorites. 3 is the best, or it was the best. I think Sonic Mania really takes everything special about Sonic and puts it into one package. It was made by true fans of the original games, and they far succeeded what was ever done before. And these games are fun. I played Sonic Mania, like I beat the game probably 8 times since it came out. I beat it twice on PS4 when I first got it. And then when I got my Switch code, my God, I play that thing on a plane like almost every time just because there's so much content that was designed for fans of the game post-game when it comes to collecting all the blue balls and all this. So there's a lot of collectibles that I love. And the level design is great. The entire game is created around the idea of what makes Sonic good, which is momentum and going forward and large, giant worlds that have multiple levels. And it's fun to go back and see all the things that you missed in different playthroughs, because the levels are all designed and all filled with Easter eggs that people would care about if you grew up liking those games. And I did. So I think it's going to be very hard for a game to kind of nail what I remembered about a game and bringing it back and making it better than it ever was. Because I talked about Crash Bandicoot earlier, and it's just like, yeah, they gave me exactly what it was, just like in a prettier package. Sonic Mania is not that. Sonic Mania is, hey, here's what you remember those games being. And the surprises in it are just so special to me. Like the first level ending with the boss from Sonic, the final boss from Sonic 2, the game keeps that up the entire time. The only gripes I have with it are like, I feel like the end of the game really kind of falls off. The final level sucks. But I really hope we get a Sonic Mania.
Sonic and
too.
Tails' friendship, they break up.
Yeah, it's
No,
really
chili
sad.
dogs.
It's really sad. And then Sonic Forces came out, and that was a giant piece of shit. So that sucks. I hope that did not sell well, and I hope that Sega learns a goddamn
I'm
lesson.
sure they did. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, I'm sure it sold well.
But yeah, I had such a great time with that, and that's why it's that high on the list. Number 3, Super Mario Odyssey. Yeah. I made a last minute change.
You
here,
sure did.
and
I
I
saw
stand by it.
I fucking read the tea leaves.
Super Mario Odyssey is fantastic. A lot of what Andrea's saying, I agree with, in the sense that it doesn't really do anything new in the way that I think Mario Galaxy did. Mario Galaxy blew my mind because I loved Mario 64 so much. I knew what a 3D Mario could be. And then Galaxy was like, fuck it, gravity physics, and we're going to design levels around that. And I feel like Mario Odyssey is kind of just a 10 out of 10 in terms of taking all the different ideas of the other. What?
I'm being funny.
All the different ideas of what makes Mario, whether it is the open world nature of 64, whether it's the creative level design of Galaxy, whether it is the platforming of the 3D Land and 3D World series. Odyssey is kind of just this perfect blend of all those things. But at the end of the day, when I think that this might go down as one of the best Mario games of all time, it's not my game of the year because it's just it is just more Mario. And to me, I'm saying it a different way than you are, because to me, I'm like, great, I love all of those games and I would give all of them very high marks. But I think that in a couple years when I look back, Galaxy is going to be, Odyssey is going to be probably my top 3, one of my top 3 Mario games. And so I absolutely loved it. But
You're gonna regret this decision for Game of the Year. Then.
I won't.
No, you won't. You won't
I
regret
won't
it.
at all.
Because it's a great game. It's just not the best game.
When I look back on 2017, I'm not going to think about Mario Odyssey. Like, I think that's a important thing for me, where it's like I'm never going to equate 2017 and Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey is going to be in conversations I have of what's the best Mario game, but that transcends everything, right?
Sure.
I feel like the other games I'm going to remember with 2017. Okay. Number 2, Cuphead. Cuphead is a game that if it were any other year, like looking back to the last couple of years, I think it would have been my game of the year. The fact that Zelda came out this year is upsetting because Cuphead deserves the game of the year. It is so damn good. The only real bad thing about the game is the King Dice fight.
I finally witnessed that. And thinking like, oh, I beat it. Well, no, what the fuck? And like he does the thing at the end.
Dude,
yeah.
There's a patch that makes it better.
Okay.
Where you can't have to start over more than once. So that's good. But the King Dice was the first time where I'm like, this is cheap. This isn't just difficult. And then the final boss, I was like, you're fucking me a little harder than I'd like, but whatever. I understand. It's a final boss in a hard game. You got to kind of have that big moment. But everything about that game, the polish of it, the way that it plays, the platforming levels delivering was such a surprise to me, because playing them at different trade shows was like really tough. And I was like really worried about the game. But similar to Resident Evil, like they came through. But I think that the difference between Resident Evil and this was that Cuphead absolutely exceeded everything I expected from it. And every boss is so unique. The moment-to-moment gameplay was always changing up on me in a way that I understood what was going on, in a way that I understood what I needed to do. There was never a time where I was like, fuck, can that touch me or not? I always knew. Like the art.
I know that can touch
me.
me.
Not only does the art look good and it all fits in with the music and the all the elements and stuff, the art does such a good job of explaining to you what's friendly and what's not friendly.
See,
Them pink
I
things.
disagree. I didn't feel that
Really?
way when I played. I think that you learn that over time playing that game, obviously, because you learn by dying. It's a
Pink
game
is
that
good.
it's a game that forces
Very
you
good.
to die to learn, which is like a whole another thing that I just don't like in games. But I really wanted to like that game so much more. And you talk about it having a high level of polish, and I just disagree. I think that there's a lot of polish in that game, but there was a lot of pixel perfect hits that needed to be happening, and their hitboxes just were not pixel perfect.
Oh man, see, I disagree. I feel like that it was forgiving. Like
I
feel
don't.
like
I don't think it was.
the-
I think that there's nothing wrong with asking your player to learn to be good at your game, to get good, right? There's nothing wrong with asking that of the player. But if you're going to make the margin for error that small, then your like polish has to be perfect, and it wasn't. And that's why I got super frustrated with that game, and I wanted to love it more. And like, because obviously Games Media has been talking about Cuphead for years, waiting for this game to come out, and then when it did, it was such a letdown. I was like, the art is amazing, the music's fantastic. I love the level design. I love the way that the boss fights are created. And then I was like, but the mechanics aren't quite there.
Oh man,
So I was disappointed.
It was well
so
received
much.
across the board, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's to
Creative
me,
boss design.
The creative, super creative boss
Jesus
designs.
Christ.
And,
Oh my God.
and within each boss design, there's like multiple levels to it, and the way that each would transform and kind of change the arenas that you're playing in, and like how the attacks moved. I loved that so much. I felt like I disagree about the pixel perfect because I feel that there was so much room of like specifically with the being able to change your weapons, and as you go and as you unlock more of the different styles, it's like there was some stuff where you can just be holding the trigger and it's gonna hit them.
Spread or whatever.
Yeah, and so I was like that I feel like that allowed me to be a bit more creative in the play styles. But what I enjoyed about it is playing through it over and over with that trial and error stuff. It reminded me of, so my two favorite genres are platformers and rhythm games. And you get in the zone in this game, and like you were talking about it with Patapon, it's like there's a zone that I only attribute to rhythm games, and Cuphead got me in it. Where it's just like, oh shit, there is such a rhythm to this of what I'm doing. What playing it over and over reminded me of Amplitude. You know, it reminded me of something where this is fucking hard, but and you're like, there's no way I can do this. But you're like, but I know that I can.
Yeah.
And with Cuphead, there was probably 4 or 5 bosses that I'm like, fuck, I'm done. Like, there's no way I'll beat this. And I beat the game eventually. Like, I did get there, and that blows my mind because if I were to go back now, I don't know that I could beat them all. But it's fun, and damn, I want more of that. And I'm worried that it's going to be way too long because the animation must have took years to make.
It did.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, I got the opportunity to interview the team, Studio MDHR, at the Game Awards, and they're all lovely people. And what's great about them having the success that they did and having, you know, the partnership with Xbox is they now can kind of upgrade their method, because the reason that game took so long is because they built that game in a very, I don't want to say, what's the word? Maybe like unique is the only word I can think of here. Outside of what other game developers traditionally do with the type of engine and the coding that they were working with. And I think now that they are like talking to other devs, they're like,
Moving to the modern world. Yeah.
we can make this game differently and it's much
Yeah.
faster. So I think that they are collectively as a team looking at other styles of game making and going, oh, well, we can do our process with the same style of animation, but we can build it from the back end differently.
Expedite that shit.
More
Yeah.
efficiently.
I hope so,
yeah.
man, because I need more now. And number 1, Zelda Breath of the Wild. Let's talk.
Link.
Game of the year.
It had my. We did a special What's Good Game Awards where we just picked off the wall categories, and one category was Best Musical Moment. And my best musical moment of 2017 was the cooking music in Zelda,
Oh, so good.
because it was just like that.
Charming.
Yeah, right. And like every time you heard it, it kind of made me feel a specific way, and I really loved cooking in that
And when
game.
you fucking nailed it, it was like even
and you got
better.
the extra
yeah.
twill at the end. Yeah, really. Lots of great moments in Zelda.
Yeah. Another award that we didn't talk about. I have 2 shout outs I want to give. Biggest disappointment of 2017, Star Wars Battlefront 2. I
I agree.
beat the DLC story over the break. God damn it, guys. Like, it upsets me, man. I just don't understand when that game had so much promise, when that story had so much promise, that they just like shit the bed so hard. But whatever. I don't
Womp
know.
womp.
I forgot one of my honorable mentions, Golf Story.
Oh yeah.
Really enjoyed it, man. I mean, the writing was great. I had already talked about it before, but I think I meant to sort of interrupt
Everybody's
after
gone.
you were going. After you were about to go, I was going to talk about it, but now we're at the end of it. So
Yeah.
Golf
Well,
Story is
now,
pretty
let's-
fun too, man.
Let's talk about Game of the Year overall. Kind of funny.
Sure.
So our votes here. Zelda.
2-1. 2-1.
I'm not voting, right? I have my.
What are you voting? I'm
I
part of
think
the conversation.
you're kind
at
of
the
funny.
table.
Aren't you? Yeah, we invited you to the thing. I think you. I
don't
think we
know.
have to bring in Kevin in like that, right? Like,
I really wish I had played Assassin's Creed.
You guys, pull your Tetris. Just the Tetris part. It's fucking
just the Tetris part of
It's so-
Puyo Tetris.
It's so
Game of
good.
the year,
I'm playing it right
2017.
now. Holy
Just
shit,
the
it's so
Tetris part.
good.
Yeah.
Well, Kev. Big Kev dog.
Yeah.
Game of the Year. What is it?
It's Mario Odyssey, man. I really want to give it to Zelda because holy shit, I've never played a Zelda before, and it fucking took me away for 120 hours. But here I am, Mario Odyssey, playing
121 hours.
way more, and I'm super excited to continue because like there's something so satisfying about grabbing all these moons that you're just like, how the fuck am I gonna reach that? And then I grab it, and it's just like, oh man, I can't believe I did
And
it.
you're like, I can't wait to go on the next challenge. I can't
Yep.
wait to find that next
Yep.
moon, knock them all off this map.
Except for that darker side of the moon. Holy shit, that is king.
You'll
of
get it
the
one day, Kev. What I love about
you get
Mario
it?
Odyssey, not yet,
Yeah.
but you talking about that level with the 2D side scrolling
Yeah, yeah.
where it does the gravity
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. It was hard. It's frustrating. You do it a bunch of times, but what I love about it is then you get that, and then there's another moon. I like that the game is designed in a way, especially in the post game, where every single moon you get, there's always that one more. It's like, well, here's the one, and then here's the harder difficulty of it, and every room that you go in has that, and I'm like, it's great because I feel like there's so much great level design in those like small little kind of like warp pipes that you go into.
Yeah.
That it's like that'd be a shame if that was all for one moon. It's all for you.
Well, there are those moments where you go back down it and it's like, I think there's something else here.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Cappy. Joey, can you come here?
You know, she's just gonna pick Stardew Valley.
No, she's
not.
no, she's not.
Out of nowhere.
Joey's coming into the room right now. If you're an audio listener, pull the car over. She's got something. You got to talk about your
Pull
game
the
of the
car
year.
over.
You got to vote for game of the year.
Listener. Oh, not you, Joey. The listener.
Oh, I was like,
If you're watching this video, keep driving.
my vote for game of the year is Persona 5.
Why?
Why? It's the only game similar to how Andy was talking. Were you talking about Destiny? I think when you were like, I'm sitting at work and really all I want to do
All
is
I
go
wanna-
home
yeah.
and play Destiny. That's me with Persona 5. Like even though I started playing over Christmas break and I'm now 40 hours in, I'm halfway through the 4th palace, so I'm not done yet. But this is the first game where anytime I was out, I was like, or I could just go home and finish this palace, and which social links am I going to max out, and which one has the better perks. Like, I don't really like this guy, but like what his like benefit is really cool, and that's going to change how I infiltrate the palaces and which party members I can swap out and stuff like that. And I really like it, and I want to go home and play it right now.
There you go. Persona 5.
That's it.
So for Game Awards,
Yeah.
when we officially voted, it was for Zelda.
Well, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Why was that?
Why was that? Because at
Yeah.
the time, that's who won. Because remember, so right now, all we're doing is just firing off what our game of the year
Yeah.
was. Right at the time of ballot filing, we went around and asked everybody who off the ballot for game of the year, what would you vote for?
And it won by votes.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think right now, because if you two are Odyssey and us two are Zelda.
Yeah, I think Nick is Zelda.
Oh, that's
And I think
that's
Joey-
right. 'Cause
Joey
Nick
had-
didn't like Odyssey.
Joey hadn't played Persona yet. I
Yeah.
think she might have been Zelda as well.
Yeah. But I mean, that wouldn't affect it because if Nick.
Well, I'm just telling you
Yeah,
where
got
the
it.
tumble ass vote came
Here
from.
he is.
Oh,
Here's
Oh,
the
look at this
deciding
sexy
vote.
shirt. Come over here.
Here's the deciding vote.
No pressure.
Oh.
Come over here.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
There you have it. There you have
That
it.
was
So
cool.
you're
He's
for Horizon.
cool.
You're
What a cool guy that was.
So I mean, there you go. I mean, it's like what
If you needed a
goddamn year.
tiebreaker and I had to vote between Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, I would vote for Breath of the Wild.
I wish Nick was smoking a cigarette when he walked in here.
Sunglasses on.
All fucking-
He's got a half drunk Bloody Mary cigarette.
like
Wow.
cigarette in his like
Sleeves.
jacket
Yeah.
sleeve.
There you have it. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Kind of Funny's Game of the Year, 2017.
Yay.
We're up to a very
Well deserved,
exciting
a great game.
2018. What's the next game coming out? Shadow of the Colossus is on February 6th.
Sure.
Is there
That's-
anything in January?
Maybe a direct.
Oh, God.
There
I'm getting way
is.
too excited about this direct, Greg. I need to calm down.
Okay, calm down.
There was
Because I'm
so
getting
many
pretty
leaks.
damn hyped.
Oh, the
Them
18
leaks.
SKUs on Amazon.
Yeah. What do you think they are? Amiibos? $60 Amiibos?
Let's see here. Last Sphere.
Monster Hunter World.
Monster Hunter World.
People were mad at us for not putting that
Dissidia
in.
Final Fantasy NT on PS4.
That was on the list, wasn't it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's it.
Some kid got
January. It's February is when it really starts to ramp up.
Ramp up.
Hopefully,
Well-
God of War in March.
Yeah, hopefully.
I can't believe they haven't announced a release date.
I know, right?
It's an exciting time for everybody. Until next time, I love you.
What's your game of the year? Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share this with your friend. We're close to 230 subs as of recording this on Kind of Funny YouTube games. Go there, do that. There's Patreons too. We like that. Thank you for watching live.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching that. You can click here to subscribe to Kind of Funny Games. You can click here to subscribe to Kind of Funny. You can click right there to go to Patreon and support us with money, real actual money. We'd appreciate that the most.